Hi, morning everyone. Nice to see you. Starting your week off with some movement. I'm going to jump straight into our breath practice. I'm going to get you to sit upright today and place your hands on your stomach, and we're all just going to have a good feel for that breath. So when you're ready, coming on down to the floor, you can sit with your feet together or with legs out, or maybe lengthened or crossed, just whatever feels right there. And just tapping into the rhythm of our breath so that when we come to our mobility, we're aware of that, and it gives us something to focus on as well. So inhales and exhales, finding them as deep as you can in the diaphragm there. Getting comfortable. Welcoming in the new week. Good intention. So lengthen up through the crown of your head. Or if you just want to relax here in another position, that's cool. Go for that. I would invite you just to bring your hands to your stomach and feel breaths rising. That's the only thing we're focusing on here. Doesn't matter if you're bloated or anything like that. We don't care. That's not important right now. Good. Tuning in. Pace, length of breath, depth of breath. When we go through our movement here, trying to hold on to some of that mindfulness. So we're going to cover all the main movements today. Full body approach with strength training in mind. The main movements you'll be looking at when you go into the gym, if you so choose to be back there. Let's swing our heels around. Coming to sit on the butt. I'm going to bring hands to the back of my neck. Drawing them in together. Rounding, so flexing back there. And then pulling them apart. And I want you to really imagine that you're pulling your chest through. Head stays back. And just repeating this. 8 reps. Drawing the elbows apart, squeezing the rear shoulder. The deltoids, the deltoids. Tucking chin. And this is a tough one in the morning because we've been lying down, obviously. So, well, hopefully we just been lying down. You're probably going to notice that it feels quite intense, first view, especially as you tuck the chin in. 3 to go. And notice when you're trying to create more space in your body that it will shake as a response. You're going to get a little bit shaking in the chest. Muscles of the back as you pull the elbows apart wider and one more time. Lovely. Now from here, I'm just going to show you face on. I'm going to extend my arms out, reach up and down, and then changing sides and back in again. Open up, out with the arms, and then a nice light bit of side bend, focusing on shoulders still here. And you will start to get a little bit burning in your shoulders. That's normal. Draw them together again. Really try and squeeze the elbows as if you want them to meet in the middle. Maybe you can get them to meet. If you can, excellent, but don't worry if not. the overhead extension here. If you've got any overhead presses in your plan, especially if it's with a barbell, these are going to be really important. But with dumbbells as well, although because they're a bit freer, it's a bit easier to work with if you've got limited mobility. Out, reaching, coming down, reaching, maybe you feel it in the neck. We've got 2 more. And not judging yourself or critiquing yourself for anywhere you feel it. There's no wrong, it just is. Based on how you spend most of your working day, maybe how you spend the weekend. Oh yeah, good, okay, I'm relaxing there. So a little bit fiery on the shoulders now, right? Let's take a moment of rest for the shoulders and move to the back. So I'm going to show you side on, just our cat-cows. Do it mindfully. Just because you know the movement doesn't mean you stop putting intention, and actually usually means you've got to do it even more, focus even more on what's going on. It's a bit like driving. So we're going to tuck your hips under, lift everything up, so flexing, spreading the hands, driving out the floor for your cat. And then as you come into the cow, really focus on dropping, extending through the low spine, mid back. Think of it as torque gains. Get more movement control over your spine. And then in reverse. I can see a lot of faces going, what was she talking about? Basically, we're looking for more control and ownership over the movement in our spine. So dropping. I've got everything quite tense, actually. You could do this with a real relaxation focus, keeping your movement quite light and soft. When it comes to creating range, tension is going to be really important. Good, take it nice and slow, head up. And flexing the back again. See if you can bring awareness to maybe a part of the spine that you don't feel that you have so much ownership over. So maybe you can drop the lumbar quite easily, the lower, but the mid back, it feels like you've not really got much control over the specific muscles in that section, in that region. I'm going to do this twice more. So we're getting more of that control. That's the idea. So we're not just kind of giving into whatever we have. We're saying, oh, how can I be more present? How can I discover new range? Excellent, lovely. Okay, so back to the shoulders. They've had a wee bit of rest. We're going to bring elbows to the floor and palms upward facing. This is a really good one if you have any front squats in your program. Now notice automatically I want to drop into my back. Lift a little bit, keep strong there. And as we bring palms to upward facing position, I'm going to pull them towards the back of my head and relax them back down again. So draw the hands together so close behind the neck and release. So really good for any overhead movement, but specifically your front squat. This is a really helpful one. Goblet squats too. Zerkers, this might help also practicing drawing rib cage in. It is going to want to flare, especially if you are by birth a woman. That's your physiological assignment. Keep bracing here in the core. You should feel it working for you to steady. And then bringing the hands flat, coming back up. If you're feeling that's hard work on the low back, you can take a child's pose for just a moment here. Release down. I'm going to go into our bow and arrow lat reach here. This is a great one for opening up the muscles in the side of the back. But as we were saying before, tension is really important for creating range. So also we're going to connect with the muscles of the upper back here. So drawing one elbow back towards the hip, open the chest. There's going to be a light bit of rotation through the waist, and then I'm going to reach and lengthen down the outside of my arm. Feels so nice. I'm pulling back and sliding pinky on the outside edge, all of the outside edge of your arm. The other arm is bending. You're going to look out and over it. And again, thinking movement specific, movement pattern specific. This is going to be really nice for your rows. We're lengthening the lats. That overhead movement we were talking about as well. It's going to help open, prep you for that. Good, so think tension. The elbow's not just moving back, it's squeezing back, shoulder blades squeezed together. Less about how it looks and more about how it feels. So can you connect shoulder blades together? Good. Perfect, last one. And changing side. Anyone got any clunking or clicking from underneath their armpits and the lats? Yeah, me too. That's cool. Just a bit of stretching. Changed sides. Good. Pull back. So, guys, most of us spend time forward, sitting forward, walking forward. It's been a while since I walked backwards. I don't know about you. But because of that, we don't really use the muscles in the upper back so often, not often enough, unfortunately. So it's going to be hard to feel them. You have to make a really disconcerted effort to engage them. But the more often you do it and with the more focus, the better. And the more you will start to know, those are my rhomboids there, or I can feel my mid-traps. We've got 3 left on this side. You're tensing in the other arm. Notice when your hips want to move as a result of that retraction, release. And one more time. Oh, definitely some stuff going on up there, some crunching business. Excellent, and coming back. Okay, one of my favorite openers, you guys are probably familiar with it. It's been a while since we've done it. We're going to go into our crab reach. Awesome for opening through the shoulder as well. So we've just got 1 or 2 movements left before we look at the lower and the spine a bit more. Hands to the outside of the hips, come to sit on your bum. I actually have a couple of modifications for you. If you're new and you haven't done this before, the crab reach, you might be going with both hands flat, slightly outturned, really squish your fingers into the ground. Hips, you want them to sit nice and high with pelvis tucked as you lift your body up. Heels are going to be underneath your knees. So if you're modifying, try just to go for a reverse tabletop. And with that, you're going to feel collarbone stretching, opening through the front of the chest. Obviously, your collarbones themselves don't stretch because they're bones. That'd be really unfortunate, probably not healthy. We want your chest to stretch where your collarbones are. This would be your modification 1. If that's totally good with you and you feel comfortable with it, keeping that arm really close under your body, squeezing the tricep, you want to lock out the arm. I'm going to bring the other one up, opening that elbow up like I did with my prayer arms in the beginning, that opener for the shoulders. I'm going to lift up and come down. And just as my knees are stacked over my ankles, I want my shoulder to be stacked over my wrist. You're going to know you're tight when the arm wants to bend. That's probably going to be an indication that your chest, your pecs are a bit tight. So when you're ready, have a little play with me on this one. And do 5 on each side. Count your own reps, going at your own pace. Nice. You should feel tension in the glutes as you lift the hips up. And we're not worried about how high the hips come, just trying to level them to the ceiling if they want to push out to the side and twist slightly. One more. It's not supposed to be easy. Good, changing sides. I'm going to show you from the other side. So fingertips pointing behind me slightly for this one, arm wedged into my body, pushing up. Back. If you've never done it before, it's going to be tough. It's going to take a bit of time to maybe even get comfortable with the idea of lifting that second arm off, but you will get there. Nice, good, really good, guys. Squeezing the knees apart slightly to help with the balance. And always remembering we're not here to get it right, because getting it wrong is the quickest route there anyway. And it would quite frankly be a bit weird if you got it right every single time, right from the get-go. Awesome. So last bit on the shoulders. Yeah, as I say, guys, we don't care about being perfect. It's all play. Coming into your 90-90 setup, and from here, we are going to do our last shoulder opening, and then we're going to work into the hips. So 2 90-degree angles with the shins. I'm going to lean forward ever so slightly, bringing the same side hand as the front knee that's forward in front of it. That was a mouthful, wasn't it? And we're going to do our shoulder cars. So make a fist with that outside arm and prepare to take it over and around. Now, with your shoulder cars, as with any car movement, the focus is on going through a rotation with control. So we're articulating the movement as well as we can. If it's not comfortable for you in this 90-90 with these strict angles, if you're finding that it's pinching in your hip a lot, you can draw the ankles a little bit closer in together so that you can really just focus on the shoulders. Not supposed to be easy. Actually, this one makes me sweat loads. Just thinking about this one makes me sweat, actually. Oh, but over. It's going to feel sticky. That's the best word I've found to describe it. Is you're going to get to one spot in particular in the movement. This is here for me, and you're going to think, I can't take any further. I can't do it. Your body's going to try and cheat its way out of it from there. That's exactly the spot where you want to slow down. Practice moving the arm in to the center line. I'm going to do one more time before we change. The elbow is going to try and bend. Turning the palm, facing outwards. But you know what? These feel so good afterwards. Good. Give it a rest. You might even feel that up in your neck. Another sign that you're quite tight there. Changing sides. Again, either setting up ankle in line with knee. A good analysis for you to do it yourself of if you're tight, and I did it myself this morning and I was like, oh yeah, she's tight, is soreness in the back there, but also knee wanting to lift. Try not to force it down with your hand, force it down with, yeah, Frida, force it down with your mind. We're using our Jedi mobility mind trick. Squeeze it down, mind to muscle connection. And if it's just so uncomfortable, again, bring the heels in a little bit. Work with what you've got. We've all got something different in a different position. So let's go through our shoulder cars again here. We're going to come into the hips very shortly. This is like an intro to hips, this one, because we are giving them a little bit of attention, a little bit more passively. However, as we go through this more active movement. Whew. Actually, this one is a lot looser for me, so making speculations yourself. On my writing arm, I feel that it's not quite as much of a grind to get the same range. Brace your core to steady your body. You're going to want to open up to the side. Try to keep forward facing. Who's ready for some hips? I am. I feel like they need it. Also sitting outside on the grass this weekend, right? Yeah. Absolutely. One more. Did anyone else skip their workout in favor of socializing this weekend? I did, but it felt really good. After all, we maintain our health and fitness so that we can enjoy life with our friends. So let's look at these hips in a little bit more detail. We're going to be a bit more scrupulous on it now. 90-90 on that first side. Ideally, we call it 90-90 because you've got the two 90-degree angles. However, draw them in if it's too much. Reaching and leaning on the side if it's too much as well. We're going to go for our windmills, the classic, the favorite. Pull the knee back as far as it goes. Be strict with yourself. Only when it's got to its maximum end range are you going to let this other knee lift. Let it travel across. Yeah, it's a lot. Connect to that movement. We're learning to abduct the hip. So abduct, abduction, take it away from the midline of the body. Externally rotating. And then internally as well. So we're teaching our body these two really important rules. Because sometimes it forgets. If we're not doing them all through the day, how is it supposed to remember? Oh yeah! Good, chest upright and forward facing every time. Pulling it back, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Sometimes I have almost done, so delayed onset muscle soreness the next day after my mobility. If I've really been working for it, really trying to push it, then that's normal. So one more each way. You're gonna slide across the floor. There's no avoiding it. I know as well, I'm the same. Getting closer and closer to the screen here. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Great for actually building glute strength as well. So we'll take it. Any of the glute gains we can get. Yes, please. All right, so coming up from here, I'm going to bring myself into tabletop position. We all have this tendency, if you're physiologically a woman as well, then you are going to want to relax into your hips. It's quite natural. Tuck them under. Keep strong here. And then extending leg to the side nice and long. We're just going to press back. With lots of sitting comes tightness and weakness in the inside of the legs. The adductors there. Otherwise known as your groin, so quite natural to be tight up here at the moment. 2 to go. And the last one. And then changing sides, so extending the other leg, flat back, tuck the pelvis under. It might be hamstrings where you feel this, and if in fact the stretch isn't doing so much for you and you want more of a hamstring focus, you can turn the toes up to the ceiling and push back from there, and what a difference it makes. Now don't be afraid to extend the leg quite far out to the side. You don't have to be able to do the splits, but you actually might get more of a feel from it where you want and need that stretch and release. 2 left here. Good, and last one. All right, perfect. So a bit more time with the hips. We're going to go through slightly different CARs here. So your critical articular rotations, quadruped stance, lifting one knee up, out, back, and in. And that becomes really hard to take it in reverse. Really, really tough here to do this without leaning to the side. Notice how much pressure is going through each hand, either hand. And really difficult not to want to extend your back. So keep tucking in the rib cage, scooping your tail underneath you. See if you can bring that knee up to body height. Good, it's great to see you all with your cameras on. It really helps me to give you some feedback. Side, round. Good, last one. Steady hips. Same as with the 90-90 windmills. Pull into that movement. Tense up in that movement. And second side here. And you know what also helps, guys? When you breathe, try to breathe. We've come too far in the unlocking process not to have a breath. We want to make it into the cafe, to the bar. Self-assessing, which side is easier, which one is harder? Your dominant side on this particular movement might feel like you've got a bit more ease of control. But also making assessments based on what else is going in your body at the moment. Are you tired? Are you well rested? Are you due to ovulate soon, to menstruate soon? All these outside factors that contribute to how our body feels at any given time. Lovely. Okay, so a bit of wrist relief there coming up off the hands. We've got one last opener. We're going to do this as a hold, so more on the flexibility side as opposed to the mobility side. We're thinking less about joint range and a little bit more about muscle length. So let's bring one foot forward to the outside of the hands. I like to do these at the end of mobility class because we're warm, you know, there's already blood flow to the body. And also we're coming full circle and thinking about that breath again. So it's quite a nice place to finish up. So in your lizard lunge here, and you might have blocks handy, that can help too. You can either stay upright, let that knee fall out to the side lightly, so coming onto the outer edge of the foot, maybe coming on down to forearms, or if you have blocks, as I say, you can maybe bring the elbows down to blocks so it's not quite so low. And I'm aiming to keep my chest elevated, nice and long here. My back knee is on the ground, maybe doubling over a mat on the thigh to support if this is much. And you can even think about guiding that knee further out by just giving it a bit of a hand, but we're still connecting mind to muscle. We're not forcing anything. Finding breath. You've forgotten. I've been quite chatty this morning, so hopefully that's kept you all mentally present with your movement enough. I know how easy it is to get distracted. Busy day ahead. We're going to come back in, pull that knee into the center line, tuck toes, step back to change sides. And make sure you got enough space around you. Maybe we're upright to begin with, just moving lightly side to side. So muscles that we're opening here, your hip flexor, the group of hip flexors is a few of them. Hip flexors and just one muscle. It's kind of family of muscles, and glutes as well, especially on that front leg. The abductors on the outside of the hip, glute med. Hand to knee if you want to, and then you might be getting a bit of that rotation. So I mentioned doing a bit of spinal work. Here you've got the option to twist slightly, and you might feel that you get to warm through the muscles of the mid-back, the thoracic. Coming down to the elbows if that feels good for you. Just a couple more rounds of breath down here, or up wherever you are. This movement. And returning to foot planting, coming back, finish off here with a few rounds of breath seated, welcoming in the week, because it's our Monday session today. I realize I'm a minute over, guys, so thank you for bearing with me. And we're just going to do 4 long breaths. We're not going to spend too much time here. Sometimes all you need is just a moment, right? Maybe hands are on stomach, feeling for that breath where we started off. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I love this class. I had loads of fun. It's on record, so they will be up here on our channel for you to repeat at a later date. And if you have any requests, I'm always looking to make classes more specific to you. So please send them in. It gives me ideas. It helps me stay on my toes as well. Have an amazing day. I'll see you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.